Welcome. You are watching another episode of Every Day is a New Day, and I am your host, Kim O'Neill, with a wonderful guest today. So excited to talk to her. Her name is Irene Quevedo, and I've been working with her through a volunteer youth mentoring organization that she is currently leading and guiding into amazing directions. And so I'm so excited to speak with her today. And so with that said, hello and welcome, Irene. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me today. Operation Jumpstart, it started with 8 people in a living room that just wanted to give back and really cared about moving Long Beach forward. And so it started with an idea that 8 people could work with 8 high schoolers and get them into college. And now, flash forward 22 years later, we're serving hundreds of students. It's more than just the mentoring piece. It's about, making sure that they're ready to get to and through college, making sure that they feel a part of this community and the greater community, and that they have a lot of people in their corner and that they have a community. Mm-hmm. And I think that's been like the greatest piece of Operation Jumpstart, that it evolved into more than just a mentoring organization, more than just a college access organization, but it really became about college success and exposing our kids to relationships and resources and, boosting their confidence. And we do it in a lot of different ways, but primarily it's about helping our youth in Long Beach that are, at a disadvantage a lot of times because of things that are not their fault. They are students that have less resources available to them. They're struggling in that sense. And we don't want the playing field to be unleveled for them. So we want to do everything we can to level things out. And that's what we do. It's our mission to help them get into college, stay in college, get out of college, and thrive. But it's beyond the college piece. I like to say it's really folks like you who mentor and give your time as a volunteer really allow them to have richer lives. So again, all of our youth, all from Long Beach, all low income, and one key piece is that they're all striving to be the first in their family to go to college, which makes us pretty unique. Because it's a long-standing program and the kids themselves will do something that no one else has done in their family, which I get really excited about.
And what is your guys' percentage rate of kids going on to college?
That is a great question. Right now, it's about 98% of our youth all go on to some form of higher education. Truthfully, we're really excited about that because they're also persisting. We have right now some really great success rate around completion of college. So about 85% of our youth are finishing within 6 years or less. So we're just really astounded by what we've been able to do in the last couple of years to ensure that they not only get that experience that'll really be great for them as individuals, because college is more than the education or the degree. We all who have been there know that. They just don't know that yet. So we just want to make sure that they go through that, stick it out, and find that they come out of the other side a different person. And it wasn't about the classes necessarily or the material they learned or the things they, we all have been there. We crammed for those tests and stayed up for those all-nighters. But yeah, about 85% of our kids now. And so we're really making a big concerted effort to focus on that completion.
Wow.
So they are all on that path.
That's great. And you mentioned that they're completing college within 6 years or less. Oh, amazing. It took me like 10 years. So.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Well, so I know a little bit about how OJS, finds students and brings them into the program, but would you share a little bit about that in case there's anyone watching that is just now hearing about OJS for the first time?
Absolutely. I'd love to. So we, again, like I said, we work with students all that are part of the Long Beach Unified School District. They all begin with us about 8th grade and stay throughout high school. They're matched with a mentor like yourself who has committed to being with them long-term, who has completed a college education. We get our students referred to us a lot like this, word of mouth, or they heard about it somewhere, saw a flyer in a coffee shop, or know a counselor or school counselors may know of us. And so that's how a lot of our students come to us. Mentors the same, just kind of a community, hearing about this community. Our youth are expected to maintain and be average and attend our events. That's all we really ask. Everything is free to them, and it's free to their mentors. We try to provide experiences, as where they are, in 1 month they could be attending a writing workshop, they could be rappelling off of a mountain, and they can be speaking at a council meeting here in the neighborhood. So there's a lot of different opportunities for them to stay engaged in this bubble. And so that's what we create. They join the program and the mentors join the program to really have a place to have support and exposure to this community and beyond. So we've got a robust tutoring program, we've got a robust counseling program, so that once the students are selected, about 15 new students a year, they then have the opportunity to thrive because they have their mentor, they have their support here with their counselors, their tutors, and their case managers. And then they have these great events that we build around their experience so that they can be social, that they can give back and do community service work. So getting involved is simple. It's just a matter of, getting in touch with someone in our office, filling out a simple application, telling us about yourself. And with our mentors, it's a little more complex. There's some screening, as you know, that goes into it. But as it should be, anyone working with a young person should be okay with a background check. And for the students, again, that they maintain their grades and that they maintain attendance to our events that are all just going to add value to their lives.
You guys do a great job of really exposing the students to a variety of activities and events, things that they wouldn't typically do. And so I love that. And yes, as a mentor, I wasn't necessarily expecting this when I started mentoring, but there have been times where I'm like, that was fun for me.
Yeah, I hope so, Kim. We're really on that path right now. We're taking our kids snowboarding this year. That's pretty awesome. A lot of our students don't travel. Camping is maybe the highlight, and many of them have not done something like outside of, something local with their parents. So to take them off to a cabin, to spend the day snowboarding, a sport that they don't have access to necessarily. Our mentors love it. Our students love it. We've taken them surfing. We've taken them out to have these pretty fancy meals for the first time. They're trying a Brazilian buffet or sushi and surfing. So that piece of it is amazing. Our students got to go to Stanford University last year, which is very cool for some who had never been on a plane. Wow. They got to fly over the Northern California area, and we gave them a fantastic day where they ended at the Cheesecake Factory with a delicious dinner, and they got to go to the student store and buy whatever they wanted. No limit there, which is fun for high schoolers. Some kids couldn't believe it. I told the story of one student who was shocked. He was just like, what do you mean? Like, whatever I want? Really, whatever I want? We're like, yes, please go buy whatever you want. And he really wanted to maximize all that he could get, and so he got a ton of shirts that were on sale because he wanted, this opportunity to get even more and to come back with it. These were Stanford shirts that were, they had maybe the year, maybe 2 years off, and he was so proud of them. He said, these were on sale, and these are the ones I want. I want more because you're allowing this opportunity. So he really took advantage. That was his way of being grateful and to maximize those dollars. But it was a great journey to do that with them. And mentors help us out every step of the way. We have mentors that were chaperones and that continue to make it easy for us to do this for them.
I know some kids are still talking about that Stanford experience. So that was pretty amazing just to see how you guys put that out there. People, helped donate and, fund that experience. And yeah, it shows how much the impact that it had on the students that went.
Absolutely. We couldn't have done it without generous funders. We had folks that really got behind something like this. It's more of an undertaking to fly our youth out to a different part of California. And next year we get to do it again. We're so blessed. We're taking our kids to see the Grand Canyon, which is something that people say is amazing. I've never seen it. I'm looking forward to it. My husband's been, and he says it's one of those like life-changing awe moments when you see the vastness of the Grand Canyon. So to be able to once again throw a bunch of our students on a plane, travel for the weekend, do something really outside of their everyday, Long Beach bubble in their neighborhood is fantastic. So we're really blessed to provide those experiences.
So amazing. Well, and the flip side of that, for anyone who's maybe considering becoming a mentor but hasn't taken that next step yet, for me, I'll just share a little bit about my experience. before I decided to actually contact OJS, I had been looking for something, a way that I can give back. I just hadn't quite found the right one, but I kept exploring and experimenting. Finally, when I found OJS, just something clicked. Two things I really loved is that you guys take into account the mentor's personality and the mentee's personality. So you help match us up that way. But then secondly is that, OJS is doing a fantastic job with all of these experiences, and it's just like you guys keep getting bigger and bigger every year. It's amazing. But as a new mentor, there was a part of me going like, what if, you just start to have all these, different thoughts and doubts creep in, like, well, what if I can't do that? Or what if it's going to cost all this extra money? Or, just all these things. And what I've learned is, the big experiences are amazing and they're phenomenal, and I absolutely see the value in that and love that you guys are able to do that. And at the same time, though, it's literally just taking the kid to the other side of the same town they live in. And I didn't really grasp that until I, had done that with my mentee a couple times and it really it sunk in like, oh, like they don't even know this other side of the town exists.
Absolutely. That's the biggest piece, I think, for us. It's so hard for us to describe what we do, Kim. Like with no tagline, no mission statement is really going to encompass it, because people will say, oh, you're a tutoring organization, you're a mentoring organization. Oh, you're all about kids that are striving to go to college. And someone said today, no, like the kids come here. These are scholars that come here to thrive and to flourish. And we don't know what's hidden in the weeds there, which is such a great way of saying that, because that student that goes from one part of town to the other part of town and suddenly is like, this is all here for me. Like I had no idea, and I like this. And why can't I do more of this? Why isn't this awesome Whole Foods in my neighborhood? Why don't I get a great bookstore in my neighborhood? And so they get to see a little bit of the disparity, but then they get to see that that's just an excuse and it falls to the wayside, and everyone has access if they're willing to reach out for it. Yes. And our students get they get our mentors, they get our case managers, everyone here that can just bring them out of that bubble, show them everything that is really here, every opportunity. And that exposure goes much deeper than any, slogan or tagline that is about college or about mentoring. It's this whole environment and shift in the person. And yeah, our mentors do so much, and it doesn't cost a lot because you're just exposing our youth to this great city and beyond.
You help bridge the gap from wherever they are to what's possible. When really there's no end to that. So much is possible, but you bridge that gap and open the door for them to start to ponder other options for their life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm really happy for that. We've had, when we do our big end of year celebrations, and I'm sure you've been to some of these graduations where our students are honored for moving on to college and leaving high school. We've had students from the stage say, I thought I was going to be a pizza delivery guy because that's what I knew. That's what I saw. I didn't really have aspirations for anything bigger than that. Nothing wrong with that. He's like, I didn't really think beyond that. Now I'm headed to Bucknell University on a scholarship, and I want to be an engineer. Wow, the vastness of what this child saw for themselves as an 8th grader, again, no fault of their own, not really knowing what's available, not having exposure to much else than their everyday surroundings and community, to someone who becomes this articulate senior who says, I'm going to leave the state. I'm going to go to a college that I've never even had heard of. I'm going to have this full ride because I've earned it, because someone is saying we believe in you, just like you all continue to believe in me. And so the gentleman I'm speaking of, he's a Posse scholar. So he had our support for all these years, and now the Posse Foundation has picked up where we left off, giving him a full ride, supporting him through the college expenses that he's obviously going to accrue through these years, and that doesn't have to be an issue. And I connected with him recently. He's headed to Spain to study abroad. So, look at the ripples and ripples of the opportunity. One day, his counselor recommended him to our program. I met him in his living room. His home, couldn't have been much bigger than my office. And he was grateful for that. And now, his world is a lot bigger than my office. Just so happy for him and all of our students.
You guys, I didn't know much about Posse before I became a mentor, and I still have some learning to do myself, but it's amazing what Posse does for kids. And you guys have had like a number of mentees become Posse scholars.
Absolutely. So the Posse Foundation, what they do is they select youth to send to different communities that just do not represent enough of our minority students, our low-income youth, and they pair them up with other students headed to the same campuses, and they pay for their tuition. So, they're sending students all over the country. We had a couple that recently were selected to go to Northwestern, even some schools in California. We've got a few students in Berkeley, but we've been pretty lucky as the chosen ones with Posse Foundation that do look to our students as students that have really shown an effort and a desire to do well. The same with Kane Foundation. We also now have Kane Scholars. This is another wonderful organization that supports the students at the college level that are first in their family that will go to college. So we find that we're in a really good sweet spot. We're working with students those high school years, and then we work with other partners during those pivotal college years where we don't let go. We still work with them. We still support them, counsel them, provide scholarships, but so do these partners like the Posse Foundation and like the Kane Foundation. And there's others, I don't need to leave anybody out, but there's a lot of great groups doing great work, and we'd be really foolish not to work with them as we try to really allow our students to have every opportunity and resource. So we've been lucky in that regard.
And that's basically a full ride, right?
It pretty much is. They cover tuition, so there are some things outside of tuition that it doesn't cover, but since we already have a scholarship program, it kind of balances out with us, because we're allowed to also provide some support there. And then, there's other opportunities as the students, earn other scholarships, which obviously when they become Posse Scholars and Kane Scholars, that's already setting them up to really sell themselves for other opportunities. So it's that abundance thing, Kim. Once it's all out there, more and more suddenly starts to appear, and these resources are plenty if you're open to it, right?
Yes, yes. Well, going back to Stanford really quick, I just want to say, there's one student in particular I know of who I think she's got her heart set on Stanford, and it's also very clear that she doesn't know how it's going to happen, but that is not stopping her from holding the vision and moving in that direction. And I love that. So
I love it too, because all of us believe it now. I mean, my goodness, the universe is going to conspire here because her mentor believes it. We believe it. Everybody sees it and says that it's going to happen. We're all working towards that goal. So at least we've given her the confidence to believe it can happen. It's hard. It's a battle. We've had other students apply and it didn't work out, but they went for it, and this student will as well. And it'll likely happen. And hey, wherever she ends up, a kid like that is going to end up somewhere great. And Stanford would be lucky to have her.
Absolutely.
But wherever she ends up, I'm just proud of her ability to believe in herself like that. And her mentor, who's her number 1 champion, has really gotten behind that. And I think it's going to happen. I feel it's going to happen.
I think it is too. Yeah, I do too. The sky's the limit. I try to not say it that way, but that's essentially it. The sky's the limit for that girl. So, and all the mentees that are in the program, it's just, it's wonderful. I know in my mentees world, seeing her gain her confidence and just evolve and become more bold and solid in who she is and accepting that's been really rewarding for me to see as a mentor. So
you've made an impact. I think I'd like to thank you for part of that, and her, of course. And I'm just so proud of everything she's juggling, and she seems to be cool under pressure, which is pretty impressive. And I'm just so happy to see how both of you have grown together through this journey. She's a legacy. She has an older sister that was in our program, and a lot of times that can be a challenge. This has to be something they want, and it looks like your mentee has definitely come into her own for what she wants, which is good to see.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Well, so we've talked about OJS doing amazing things, and I just want to go back to when I first started at OJS. I know you, I don't know what your exact title was. You were a case manager or? Okay.
Yeah, probably back 5 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. And I remember thinking like, oh, Irene's just so great. Like Irene, you have it. You have it. and I guess it was maybe 2 to 3 years ago when you decided you became at the helm. You're at the helm now of OJS. And I was like, exactly. That makes sense. So I'm so glad to see you in that role. Would you share with us a little bit of your background and how you've gotten to where you are today?
I'd be happy to. Thank you for that, Kim. It's always great to have folks really believe in you, even before you even had the opportunity to shine. So thank you for that, because it made a big difference, a few years ago. But when I started with OJS, I've been with the agency about 7 years now, and I always say this story, and it's funny because I was interviewed by the woman who used to have this job many years ago, and one of her questions was, where will you be in 5 years? And I said to her, I will actually have your job, which took a level of sort of like, wow, like confidence and vision and going out on a limb. And I think it was actually impressive to her. Good for that, right? Like she wasn't intimidated and said, okay, not hired. But I did see that for myself, that eventually I'd love to lead. And I guess it has to do with my background. I'm the first in my family to go to college. I know firsthand that it was probably not all me. I had a few key mentors in my life, but I feel it was this greater universe that just led me to have that experience. Because sometimes, Kim, I think I just kind of stumbled into the right path, thank goodness. But I could have gone in a completely different path. My 4 older brothers all dropped out of high school. My older sister, I'm the youngest of 6, she barely made it out. She always says a story that she begged someone to give her a D so that she could pass, I think, government her senior year. So, I was coming from a legacy of a great mother, a great foundation, great siblings that cared a lot about life, but education just wasn't the way for them. And so they struggled through. And for me, I just got so blessed on the other side of it that I thought, well, education is a great path, a path for me to go beyond myself, go beyond these everyday surroundings. I grew up in Inglewood, California. A lot of the same stuff you see in Long Beach, where it was a community that at times really we thrived and at other times we didn't. And so there's a lot of students that can really get distracted or sidetracked from that community aspect that can hold us back if we're not focused on the right things or have the right people in our corner. So I always just kind of got that. Maybe it was like intuition or my upbringing. I got that the mission of OJS felt right because I had lived some of that, and because in my heart I just think that it's the place for me, and you have to follow your heart, and you're not necessarily doing that when you're younger. But I think in that interview, about 7 years ago, something about me just had it, and I got it, and I expressed it. And so 5 years later I did, I worked my way up, and I worked hard, and I always focused on working hard. So if you focus on working hard, all the opportunities, I believe, they are just abundant and they appear for you. So I had the opportunity to elevate through my experience in the case management world, directing the operations. I love that about my journey. That won't be every executive director's journey, but I love that I sort of grew up in the business and that I had that time to really get to know our students, to get to know our mentors like you, to match them, to work directly with them. It gives me an added sort of advantage, and everyone will have their advantage, but me growing up in the process and the bubble has really helped. But again, being first gen has helped. 100% of our staff are all first gen themselves, the first in their family to go to college. So there's like a lot of passion in the culture around making sure that our students thrive, because we know that we benefited from making it through. But I'm just really happy to be at this post at this time.
It shows that you put your heart into leading the organization. And I think that makes it connects everyone else. So I personally, I've been with the organization even before you were, in the position that you are now, but I just feel, I think, even more connected now. You just, I think you're a born leader, and you do a great job of just, I think, being who you are. And that's really coming across and showing through everyone else that's a part of the organization today. So
yeah, we've got a great board. We've got a great staff, and I'm just so proud of them. And, I just got the team here, the team that is here, their heart is here. And that's what's important, because it's how our kids will hopefully develop into great leaders themselves and great givers that give their heart and that are passionate about their work. It starts with us. If the kids come here and we look stressed or bored or unhappy, that's not the dream. It's not selling the dream by any means. So we do strive for a culture of, we have fun, but we also get to work and we're productive because the kids are on the line and they've got to do well, and it's not always easy. We can't always keep every single student on track or every single parent or mentor aligned, but if we're passionate and happy and getting after it, then for the most part, the majority of our kids and our mentors are also happy and getting after it, and the common goal is their success, and we all get around, every one of our, students and make sure that they're thriving.
I know not every family that these mentees come through speaks English, but you guys, you work with them and you make it work. How do you do that?
Absolutely. So one of our biggest efforts here at Operation Jumpstart has always been to make sure that we can communicate with our families in a language that they're comfortable with. So whether that's, translating our documents or having someone, creating for instance, parent workshop. We'll combine sometimes student workshops with parent workshops and making sure there's someone in the room to translate for our Spanish-speaking parents or to provide services to parents that primarily speak Khmer. So we have a huge population here in Long Beach. The makeup of Long Beach is there's a lot of students, Cambodian, Filipino, Latino, and so the makeup of our program is the same. We're serving the youth that make up Long Beach because we serve Long Beach. Lots of African-American students as well. And so we're making sure that this population has what they need to thrive. And a lot of that comes in making sure they're comfortable. So they can always call our office and speak to someone that speaks their language to support them with paperwork or just answer their questions. And if we don't have the person that speaks that language, we'll try to make it work by finding someone that can come in and be an advocate. This is especially critical to college success. Our parents, this is a big undertaking. It's like the whole family is going to college. And they're afraid of, what's to come. It's the unknown. It's signing paperwork. It's getting a loan. I mean, that's a scary word, a loan, right? Paying for college. So we understand that if they're more comfortable with the resources being in a language they can understand and that the information is something they can grasp fully and we're helping them grasp that in a place they can trust, then they're more likely to not self-sabotage and keep their babies close and not let them go to college, which we'll see a lot in our neighborhoods, in our communities, and no fault of anyone just not being knowledgeable enough or comfortable enough. And so we do that. We provide that support earlier on. We've gotten better about the earlier, the better. So our freshman parents, our sophomore parents, understanding that college is going to be a journey and whatever it's going to take over the next, 4 or 5 years to get everybody comfortable with the idea, we work on that. And so that has to do with the language that they speak or just the level of comfort to learning something new.
I think that's fantastic because you're helping the parents to feel comfortable and know that language is not a barrier. You guys will find a way around that. That's not enough to say no and keep the kid out.
Yeah. Language is not a barrier. Money is not a barrier. Where you grew up is not a barrier. We're very good at removing the excuses, Kim. We're very good at that.
I love it. It's awesome. For anyone who's considering becoming a mentor, what would you like to have them know about being a mentor?
A couple of things, and that's such a great question. First of all, it's not as hard as it may seem. Some folks think, I don't have the time. You said it yourself. You think at first maybe it's going to take too much time or resources or dollars. And it's really, connecting with someone sometimes is just a matter of you're there when they need to talk. They'll call you and they'll feel comfortable because they were in a bind and they needed someone that would just listen. They're there when they have to text you at 3 a.m. They're stressed about a test, and who else can they text but you? Because you may just be there as a mentor to text them back and understand because they feel like my parent doesn't get me or my sibling doesn't get me, but my mentor does. So it's a matter of just making a little bit of time out of your schedule as a mentor and a willingness to just be in the unknown for a little while. You went through that first year, getting to know each other like in any relationship, right? And these are kids, and there's an adult that wants to be in their life. It can be a little weird and uncomfortable at first, but the bonding will happen if you continue to show up. You really just make the time, carve that time out of your schedule, continue to show up, and there's a lot of guidance and counsel here with our counselors and our staff to just make sure that the bonding is happening and that the communication is robust as it can be. But I'd say for mentors, don't be afraid to try it. If you think that you don't have the time, you really do. We all have the time for things that we make valuable in our lives. And also, it's funny that mentors always say that they thought it was about the student and about what the student was going to get out of it and how they were going to be this huge help to the student and rescue the student. And then you hear 4 or 5 years later, the student changed my life. They did so much for me. I hear so much, they were my mentor. I love that. I hear it all the time, 7.5 years in, 7 years in. I heard this a lot, Kim. The student is the mentor. The student is the guy. The student is the person that came in and changed their life and introduced you to a new neighborhood, new foods, new cool things. It's so funny because suddenly the mentor realizes that they needed the relationship as much as they thought that the student needed a mentor. They don't want to be without their mentee. So that's pretty amazing. And to know that going into it is kind of great.
Yeah, it has been very meaningful, and it's some of the journey has been we're not really knowing what's happening in the moment, but as you stick with it over time, you go, oh, that's what was being built, that's what was being created over time. And it wasn't just for them, it was for me too. That's, it wasn't the intention, but yeah. One of the things that I really loved from the mentor training that you guys do with Tony LaRae, he's fantastic, is like the bottom line message that I got out of that was that there's not really much you can do wrong. You just need to show up. You just need to be you and just be there. And so, you don't need to worry about saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing. It's helped me allow myself to go, okay, Kim, it's okay that you kind of, need to work on this thing or that thing. It's about me being there for the mentee and continuing that connection or relationship. And that's really what helps create the overall impact that OJS is trying to do. So
absolutely. I think, it is so key to just remember showing up, continuing to show up, continuing to show up, continuing to show up. It ends up being the thing where the mentee later says, I was quiet, or I didn't want to sit in the front seat. It was awkward. I only wanted to sit in the back seat, or I didn't want to return that text or that call, but I always knew they were there for me. I always knew they had my back, or I always knew I could count on them. Today, they're the one person I want to call when something goes right, But that mentor just continues to show up, and that's what's built over time. It just like any relationship, you may not see the value until some years of that work that goes into building that trust and that mutual respect and, that mutual need to have each other's back, as our kids would say. Our staff says that a lot. That's kind of like a thing that we say here, to have each other's back. It's important to feel that. And I think our mentees feel that with their mentors, as long as they keep showing up.
What else would you like to share with people?
What I'd like to say is, I thought about that. I'd like to always give advice that I think is good for me as well. So I would just say that people need to listen more. Listen. I think if we listen to the state of our communities, to the state of our relationships as they are now, if we really just take the time to listen, sometimes just with our eyes, as much as our ears, then we'll find where we're meant to be and what we're meant to do and how we're meant to give. And everything really does happen for a reason, as corny as that sounds. And so if there's any inclination for folks that they say there's something missing and they want to give back, and that's from within, and if they're really listening, then they feel, let me go and act on it. If we really, really listen, then it'll help us really act on what we're feeling. And so I've been, especially at the turn of the year, it being January, 5th or 6th, I always think about what can I do more of. And that's how I plan to spend my year, listening more to our students, to our staff, to the state of our city, to the relationships that I have now. And hopefully with listening more, that I build better, more profound, experiences for myself and others around me. So that's a tip that I always think is pretty good, because it allows us to slow down all the noise and just enjoy what's happening and what's around us.
You said something a moment ago about things happen for a reason. You said something along those lines. And what I want to share with you, this is sort of a side thing, but speaks to that point, is I know that you had introduced a couple of the staff members there to a massage therapist. Local massage therapist, and I'm good friends with one of those staff members, and that person had shared with me, oh yeah, there's this great massage therapist nearby, and he just raved about her, and I was like, really? And I was like, oh, it sounds great, I should go check her out sometime. And so he put us in touch, and I went and had a massage with her, and to this day she's now someone I consider a friend, and we actually have done stuff out, like I've only had one massage with her. We're kind of doing business-y things together now.
Awesome. It's so funny. It was a staff retreat. I thought this was a great way to get everyone feeling connected, to some self-care. And this person has ended up being like great friends with a lot of people. There's like these connections if we listen, right? If we're open.
Yes.
It's like she's been someone that has been able to provide a lot of value, and all from a simple retreat, a simple connection. I met this person randomly, and I said, can I use you next week? Can you come to my staff, retreat next week? Can you be there for my team? And sure, of course, I do this, I do that. And it sounds like she's there for a lot of you, and yes. It's a great connection. But you stopped to sort of listen. Someone had this great experience, and you went and you experienced for yourself. That's kind of what we are. Just come experience for yourself this OJS bubble, especially if you're hearing folks rave about it, right?
Yeah. So you're doing exactly the advice that you just gave. You are listening, and thank you, because I am reaping the benefits of some of that.
Good. I'm happy to hear it. I'm going to need to go get some of those massages pretty soon.
Yeah.
I've only done it once myself, but I'm going back.
Awesome. Irene, what fuels you? I know you sound very committed to the organization, but maybe on a personal level, what comes up for you if I were to say, what's your passion or what fuels you?
Oh, that's a great question. I thought about this a little bit when I was thinking about meeting with you, and I really thought about how important balance is to me. I enjoy feeling balanced, feeling well-rounded with my spirit, my health, my relationships, my work. And so part of me, in order to stay balanced, I really enjoy reading. I enjoy reading things that are going to feed my soul, that are positive, that I can then get inspired by and give that back. So I do, it's an honor for me to be at the helm, and I don't take it for granted. And I have found through the years that one of my strengths is people. Like, I realized that. I didn't own it before. Like, when I said the story about telling the person who hired me that I would have her job. That's a little bit over the top, but I guess I just always knew instinctively that I could only be in the role where I was in the role where I could lead, because it just calls me. And so it's important for me to be the best that I can be, because I am in that role and I thrive in that role. And it's okay to own that. But also that awareness, owning that, there's a lot of responsibility with that, to be the best that I can be. So I like to have balance. I'm passionate about it so I can be the best that I can be, because if I'm imbalanced, it's not going to work. Good relationships, good people in my life, just as much as I like to lead great people, I just like to count on great people. So I've got a great husband who is in a lot of ways my opposite, and it's good because he always says this funny joke about Joel Osteen. I think he's like the pastor who also has written some really great books. He says a wife story of his, that his wife is so, he has to listen to his wife. She's got great advice. She's always right about things. He says, but if she didn't have me, she'd be in jail because she's crazy. That's such a funny story, because it's like he first starts off with how great she is for him, but then it's like, I'm so great for her. She'd be in prison. That's such a funny, dramatic way to say that. But that to me is really important. I have staff people here that are more than staff. There are people that I do know that in another world, when we're all removed from the journey here, we'll still feel connected, and that's important to me. So there's the relationships in my life fuel me. I'm a mother of 3, so leading, boy, am I leading by example. My energy's got to be right. Again, my balance, Kim, has got to be right for them. That's one of my greatest honors, to be their parent and be always setting a great example. 10, 6, and 5. So it's the fun years where right now I am their hero. But one day I won't be. One day it'll be their teenage friends or celebrities or their college crush or whatever it is. But right now it's important for me to set that foundation so that they can always come back home and have that relationship with myself and my husband. So I'm just passionate about relationships, about learning, about giving that back, about leading, and knowing people like you that make us all better and do great things like this for others to grow and prosper.
Well, Irene, this has been fantastic. Is there anything else you would like to share?
I did want to share just one thing. I'm thankful, first of all, thanks for the opportunity. I just wanted to share that when you first asked me to do this, I thought great, but that I mentioned this to you, I felt apprehension, which is kind of weird, right? But sometimes we're sort of like, to be put in the hot seat. But I ignored that. I listened. Right? So I ignored the feeling to sort of bail or to not be available or to be worried about it, and just went for it. So thank you to you for putting me in a situation where we don't always just sort of stop and get to reflect. And reflecting is good. Why bury ourselves under some other commitment? Make the time to stop, reflect, listen, and be present. So you've given me that opportunity with this. So thank you for that. I just wanted to say that. Thank you. And I wouldn't have bailed on you, but I have the thoughts, right? What else do I have to get done, right? But balance, as I said, balance. This is part of being balanced. So thank you for the opportunity. And for being a great mentor, Kim. You make us look good.
Oh, thank you. You guys provide so much support. And this, I did also just want to say, it's good to see that you have a lot of support not only from your own family structure, but from the staff and the board. The board, they are fantastic. And yeah, so it's so heartwarming to see that and to know that, that I get to be part of that. And I'm grateful that I'm part of that. I was talking about systems with someone else earlier today about how each of us is one piece of the greater system. And OJS in itself is, one whole system within another greater system, right? The whole city and our whole world. And anyway, it's great to see everyone just doing their part. And anyway.
Absolutely. I say this all the time. It's almost like a running joke, but we've got the best board in town. Every great organization has great leadership, and our board members are beginning with our board president and, all of our board members, no matter the tenure, they all have a great heart for what we do. And it really means a lot to me because none of us would be thriving without our leadership thriving. So they do really great by just giving of themselves. Of course, board members are all volunteers. They give their time, their expertise, their energy, and their love to this nonprofit. So yeah, you're right. We're all a piece of the puzzle that works out somehow here. So it's an honor to be in this bubble.
Awesome. Well, it was wonderful speaking with you today, Irene. I'm so glad we were able to do this. And so anyway, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. I know I'll see you, I think, in a week, actually. So
we've got a parade to go to. That's what I hear.
Yes, we do.
Thank you so much, Kim. I appreciate you. You have a great weekend.
Thank you. Same to you. Bye.